When I started this painting, I had a pretty specific idea in mind. It was going to be a cabin next to a lake with a nice sunrise, beautiful sky behind it. And although the finished result is pretty much just that, the whole painting went through a bunch of changes. So after I finished the initial sketch, I laid in what I had thought would be the composition for this piece. Autumn-colored trees, a nice soft, airy atmosphere, and some color on the horizon. Pretty soon though, I ran into one of the most common challenges that I face: not being satisfied with the composition or the feel that the entire thing was giving me. So right away I added more color to the sky, I brightened the sky, I started to change the trees, and I began the process of working out the idea through trial and error. The cabin disappeared, the horizon line moved upwards into the sky, and I created a darker foreground with some larger trees. That was nice, and it gave me an idea for perhaps a future painting, but I still wasn't feeling it. I tried adding a dirt road to lead the viewer into the scene. I tried changing the color of the sky, adding a sun, and eventually moving that tree to the right side. And I remember at this point thinking that I had it. I thought that this was going to be the composition I wanted. I re-added the cabin back into it. But again, once I added the dock, some other things, it just didn't feel right. So thus began the process one more time. So I thought. At least at this point, I got a lot closer to what I wanted this to be. I tried painting in the idea of the cabin one more time, lowering the horizon line, adding some pine trees, some mountains, changing the sky from a sunset to illuminated clouds. And when I got to this point, I remember feeling that I was much closer than I originally thought, but figured it needed a few more tweaks. I sketched out some composition changes with some white paint, and this is really when I made my breakthrough in the painting. I added a nice sunset, a distant horizon, some fall foliage, some taller pine trees to the right where the cabin would be, and begin building up the layers. Little by little, this whole thing started to make sense to me. I was getting the feeling that I was after, the colors that I wanted, everything started to click. And so when I talk about getting over the hump, this is really a perfect example. Working out those ideas through my mind were extremely challenging and exhausting. In fact, at some point, I contemplated not even continuing with this piece and restarting the whole thing over on a fresh canvas. But I tried to take my own advice, keep working at it, keep pushing through, and eventually I started to see something. So I think it's a great lesson to always push yourself beyond the point of frustration, because that's usually where you find your biggest breakthroughs. And so when I get to a point like this where I'm really happy with everything, it's really just a matter of execution, finishing the details, cleaning up the edges, and pushing hard towards the end. So I worked on this painting over the course of about 4 weeks, maybe 5 weeks, not constant, but almost every day, a little bit here and there, on and off. I couldn't tell you the amount of hours that I have into this, but I can tell you that it's a lot. There was over 60 hours of just brush work involved in this time lapse, but that doesn't come close to the amount of time that went into the thought process, the planning, so many other little things that are involved outside of the actual painting itself. At about 8 minutes, you'll see me go back to the sky, and I begin the process of oil paints, painting oils over the top of acrylics. I do this to create softer blends, brighter colors, intense glazes, and work my way back through the entire painting until I think it's finished. Aside from the smooth blends in the sky, the oils really help me with details like the tree foliage, the fall colors. Being able to work wet and wet over the top of these trees is really helpful for creating those soft leaves. It doesn't look so rough and scratchy. The oils really help me create trees that appear to be very soft, but show that fine detail when viewed up close. And that's really hard to accomplish with acrylics. So oil paints not only help me with those blends, but those fine details as well really can feel more enhanced when painted in oils. In the end, I couldn't have been happier with the results. Everything came together beyond my expectations. And looking back over this past month, this painting was definitely a test of my patience. It required a tremendous amount of focus and mental toughness. I don't think the time-lapse really represents the struggle or frustration that I went through in the beginning stages. It definitely gives me some new perspective and perhaps a different way of thinking about my work. I think moving forward into the next few paintings will be an interesting time for me, as I've seen a lot of changes in my technique as well as growth in my thought process.